When it can't be done in regulation, it's time for that extra period, overtime.
Overtime.
And he forces overtime.
Overtime in Chicago.
We go to overtime.
Here are your hosts, Daniel Harris and Alan Stout.
All right, welcome to Overtime with Dan and Alan. Show number three. On a Wednesday at 4 p.m. Glad to have you with us. If you haven't found us on Facebook, Twitter, or the World Wide Web, which I hope you're listening to us on the World Wide Web. Right?
I hope so. That might be the only way to listen to us at this point.
Oh, boy. Well, Dan?
Got a lot on tap for the show today, Alan.
We do.
We got some quick hits here to start out. I'm going to talk a little bit about the NHL season that just wrapped. We'll be talking Cardinals, obviously. And we'll also be talking about the NBA draft. I have a big draft preview coming on here. So that's a lot we have going on for the show today, Alan. So what do you got for us?
Well, I mean, you made the show log, so what do you got?
I mean, I got a lot of stuff.
You want to start off with a little bit of quick hits?
We can do a little bit of quick hits. Starting out here, the Bruins won the Stanley Cup. Boston Bruins. I don't know if anybody follows hockey too much around in this area, but they won the Stanley Cup with a 4-0 shutout win over the Vancouver Canucks. It was a pretty well-played series. Went to Game 7.
And it was compelling.
Exactly.
After, I'm not a big, huge hockey fan, but when the games I did watch...
The home team won every game, so except for the last one. And... The Bruins just played well. Tim Thomas got the MVP trophy as the Conn Smythe, I think is what it's called. And he was outstanding. He's one of the first American goalies to get it in a while, actually, because the last several have been usually Canadian or European-born. He's a native of the Northeast, so this is Boston's first title since the 70s, when they used to be more of a powerhouse-type team. And they really enjoyed their parade. Their parade looked fantastic. On TV. So,
well, I mean, it's 7 titles in the last decade for Boston. You know.
I think that's tied for the lead with Los Angeles. I think because let's see, they have 5. They have 5 just with basketball.
Oh,
and then the Angels of Anaheim would count as 1 for baseball. And I want to say they have 1 more, but I couldn't tell you what it was in. Anyway, moving on, but. Actually coinciding with the Boston Bruins winning Stanley Cup, the Vancouver Riots. How insane is this stuff?
I don't understand. If any team won or lost, why would you just go and tear up your whole city?
The whole city was
I watched the live cast after they won the game, and it was insane. Cars burning up. It was like a war zone out there.
Police cars turned over.
There was estimated over 100,000 people rioting in downtown Vancouver.
I think a lot of it, people just wanted to riot. That was what it was about. They just wanted to riot. So it wasn't that they lost necessarily. It was that, let's go tear some stuff up.
Yeah, but a lot of those were hockey fans. So, I mean, and the funny thing is, with all the social media going around, all those pictures taken, I don't think you really get away.
The Vancouver Police Department wanted people to take pictures and then put it on Facebook, on their Facebook account to help identify all these people, and they did. They helped identify. Let's see who are the famous people. There was the kid holding the hockey stick outside the store. There was the kissing couple in the middle of it. There was the college lacrosse player looking to blow up a police car.
I could not believe all the There's just pictures of people posing in front of burning cars with kneeling down, smiling. There's group pictures. I could not believe it. I wouldn't. What would you do to wake up to that city the next morning, and just the whole downtown would be in shambles?
I don't know. I've never been in a riot. I don't plan on being in a riot. But it was just absolutely insane, the damage that was done. What would make people just want to do that? I don't know. It's beyond me. But we're going to move on.
What's the next hit?
Miami Heat did lose the NBA Finals, but several of them were in the club where the Dallas Mavericks were partying and celebrating their championship. What are you doing?
I don't know. I don't really understand that.
I don't get it.
Who was it? Dan Pierre, one of the bigger ones? Was he one that?
I think Dan Pierre was there.
I don't understand how you can go from the Mavericks.
I mean, none of the big three were there.
Right. But still,
I mean,
it'd be different if you got lost in the first round, but
Yeah.
you lost
You
in
lost
the finals
You
and to
don't-
the team that you're
and
partying
then that
with.
night you're like,
To the
yeah,
team you're partying with.
I understand going out the night after that. You need to, drink your problems away, which I don't recommend, by the way. But that's celebrating with the Mavericks. It's not this would never happen in the good days, the glory days of the NBA. Did the Pistons and Bulls like each other in the late 80s? No. Did the Celtics and Lakers like each other at all, period? No. The Knicks, Heat, Bulls, Knicks, everybody against the Knicks? No. No one liked each other.
Right.
And then everybody's like, oh, hey, we're friends.
It's a different league now. Everybody's friends.
It's completely different. Our last quick hit of the day would be that there's a story that was on Yahoo Sports that I read about a dad for a South Carolina pitcher. Mm-hmm. He missed his son play in the College World Series last year where the South Carolina...
And they won the title.
They won the title.
Yep.
This year he said he was going to go watch, but he didn't have any more
vacation days.
So he quit his job. Just up and quit his job to go and watch his son pitch in the College World Series.
And he got there in time to see his
son pitch, and they're still undefeated this year, so they're looking to repeat, and he's there. That's tough to do in these economic times.
I'd be a little nervous to do that. I don't know.
He was a car salesman.
Yep.
And
he ran on vacation days, so he's like, what's better to do than just quit?
He quit. He just went up and quit. So
I haven't followed up on the story. I don't know if he...
I don't know
if he's got another job.
They said that Gamecock Nation will help him out or something like that.
Right.
And I'd like to pose a question for anybody on Facebook. Would you do that for your son? Would you give up your job to go watch your child play? I mean, it's a significant sporting event. It is. But that's our poll question for the day. Would you give up your job to watch your child play in a sport? So that's what we're doing today. Now we're going to move on. Last week we talked about our top 10 NCAA scandals. I got 5, so we're going to go with 5 this week. We're going to go with 5. It's going to be our first ever list on the show that we're ever running down. So that's good news there. I'm going to start off with number 1 on my list. We'll go from number 1 to number 5.
All right. Number 1 and number 5?
Number 1 to number 5. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Okay.
Number 1, the biggest one I think of all has to be Southern Methodist University's football in the early 1980s. Now, if many of you aren't familiar with Southern Methodist now, it's because a whole 2 generations have been born and gone through and not known about how good this team was in the early 80s. Maybe you're familiar with the names Eric Dickerson and Craig James. Craig James is an analyst for ESPN college football, and Eric Dickerson has the single-season rushing record in the NFL of 2,105 yards and has over 10,000 yards and is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And they were nicknamed while at SMU Pony Express.
Right.
And their record from 1980 to 1984, where most of the infractions occurred, was 45-5-1. That's the highest winning percentage over Division I over that span, which is a .892 winning percentage. But if you ever, there's a great 30 for 30 ESPN on this.
It's one of my
Outstanding.
favorites.
It's a really good one, and it comes to light in the 1986 and 87 seasons, where one of the players actually speaks out and says, "I was given this, I was given that, all this money, these cars, all this stuff. That's what you were guaranteed." All this stuff, and they were given the death penalty in 1987,
which means
you can't go to bowl games, you can't
participate in games, anything. You're done. Death penalty.
And since 1987, the football program did continue. More recently, they've had success the last 2 years with their head coach June Jones, which name may sound familiar because he used to coach Hawaii when Colt Brennan was there, and they were setting those kind of football records. Their record from 1987 to 2007, which was before June Jones got there, was 58-153. Just not very good. Moving on. This is a number 2 for me. Number 2 NCAA sports scandal.
Your favorite team?
My favorite team. Kentucky basketball in the late 1980s. Eddie Sutton was the head coach. He replaced Joe B. Hall. And they won. They were in Final Fours. They were a big team in the 80s. They didn't win a championship because, actually, traditionally, the Kentucky wins championships in the odd number of decades. Weird, right? Anyway, Eddie Sutton was there, and Chris Mills was a big recruit Many people remember him at Arizona because that's where he transferred to, but he was at Kentucky the first year. And how they got caught was a coach, Dwayne Casey, who just recently got hired as Minnesota Timberwolves head coach, had an envelope full of cash at the airport that dropped and spilled out, and then it kind of went on from there. They went and discovered that they've been helping players with entrance exams and stuff besides, cash to players and stuff like that. They made the coach, Eddie Sutton, resign, and they made Cliff Hagan, who is a Hall of Famer, and the Kentucky AD, resign. They were banned from postseason play for 2 years. And during that time, Rick Pitino started coaching and got them back to their glory days. Number 3 on my list, which may end up being higher given the time, would be Baylor basketball in the year 2003. Many of you may remember Baylor basketball, but don't remember what happened. What happened was there was the cash payments and all the typical stuff you see with scandals. But another player killed a teammate and buried him in the desert and all this stuff. And I think this one will end up being bigger because of the murder aspect of it. But that's just insane. It was over a girl, and one of them had mental problems, and none of the coaches took care of it. Right. And one of the players transferred, and still one of the other former teammates went. It's just a big mess. It's too much. I don't have enough time to get into it all. Number 4 is going to be Michigan basketball, early 1990s. Of course, the Fab Five, another great 30 for 30 came out on that. Yep. And it required like 10 years to solve what was going on. But with the Ed Martin, the booster, supplied money to Jalen Rose, Chris Webber, mostly Chris Webber. About $400,000 is what has been told. So all their records got wiped. And let's see who else was in it. The late Tractor Trailer, Maurice Taylor. So up until the late 90s, it was going on there. And they just got wins rescinded. I think that was all that happened because it was too far in the back to put on these new players. And my last one for now is USC football, early 2000s. Obviously, we know about Reggie Bush giving up his Heisman. His family got a Cadillac Escalade or something out of it. They paid players. They just flat out paid everybody. Caused their coach Pete Carroll to resign. They had to give back their BCS national championship in 2004. Yep. So, that's my top 5 list. Alan, what do you think?
What about I know it's a little early, but Ohio State football. Another one is Bruce Pearl.
Oh, Tennessee,
big Bruce Pearl. I mean, just his whole career, he had a little bit of incidents with Iowa and Illinois and Deion Thomas. That recruiting. Where do you think they would fall into your? I know Ohio State's just now developing, and we'll see some more stuff come out in probably July or August, but that's got to be up there too. I mean, the almighty god of football coaching, Jim Tressel.
Yeah.
Fear the vest.
Tressel mania.
Is no more.
So, yeah, I mean, those are going to get in there eventually. I mean, we don't know what else is going to come to light out of this. Ohio State is too early. Bruce Pearl, they're already going through that because, I don't like Tennessee just being a Kentucky fan. So.
Right.
All right, well, we're going to take a break here and get to our first song, which is going to be Sabotage by the Beastie Boys. So you guys enjoy that. You're listening to Overtime with Dan and Alan.